Hey guys, so you want to make an appointment for your dog or your cat to see the veterinarian. You call them up and you got to wait a week, 2 weeks, sometimes a month, sometimes you can't even get in. What are you going to do? More and more pet guardians like you, including myself, are kind of choosing in-home veterinary care. You know, it's important to understand what in-home veterinary care is all about. The vet can come into your home, vaccinations. I just had my vet come into my house and vaccinated my two guys, checked them for a heartworm, cleaned out the anal glands, expressed the anal glands. This was all done at home. But it's always important to remember that whatever veterinarian you're using that is coming to your home, which I do recommend because I'll talk about that in a little bit, make sure they are affiliated or at least have the ability to work with a veterinarian that does have a veterinary hospital in case there's major surgery involved or testing that may be involved that they obviously can't do at home. In-home is great for basic medical stuff, but just make sure they're affiliated if heaven forbid, your dog or your cat needs a little bit more care. So why choose in-home veterinary care? Let's face it. When I go to the doctor and the doctor takes my blood pressure, it's always higher than it would be if I were home. And the reason for that is something called white coat hypertension. You know, years ago when I first started, I remember talking to Regis and Kathy Lee years ago talking about white coat hypertension for dogs and cats, and they actually thought I was nuts. But hear me out on this. When you take your dog or your cat to the veterinarian, very often their blood pressure is higher. They're going through that same white coat hypertension. So having a veterinarian that come to your home is a lot more calming and soothing, not only for your dog or cat, but let's face it, you know when you take your dog or cat to the vet, you're stressed out just as well. And at most veterinary hospitals, there's a little bit of a wait. So your dog's in a waiting room with another dog or a cat and they're barking and they're really excited. Nothing wrong with going to the vet. However, if it's something minor and you want to get it taken care of, I'm a big fan of in-home veterinary care. And again, the reason for that is number one, the vet gets to see the dog in its natural environment. And the vet may look around and say, you know, maybe the dog shouldn't have that. Maybe that's the wrong type of toy. So you get some information, number one. Number two, generally speaking, when the vet comes to your home, they give you a lot more time in terms of discussing what's going on with your dog or what may not be going on with your cat. So again, it's important to understand that with first of all, there's not enough veterinarians. There's a veterinary shortage. So if you're in school right now and you want to love animals, so you may consider veterinary medicine as a career. You know, years ago, I wasn't such a big fan of in-home veterinary care, but with so many of my listeners calling from all over the country, from Mississippi, Missouri, New York, California, I hear the same thing over and over again. We couldn't get a veterinary appointment. Our dog's due for the shots. What do we do? So again, I would speak to your vet. If he's a regular veterinarian, you go to him, that's fine. But if there is someone in your area that your vet may recommend, say, you know what, my dog really gets stressed out. I have an older dog, a geriatric, a senior dog, a senior cat, and they get so stressed out, I'm afraid that it's really going to harm them if I have to bring them there. But yet having the vet come to the house, as I said, is a lot more calming. Not only for the dog or the cat, but for you. Let's face it, when you're anxious at the veterinary hospital, that anxiety goes from one end of the leash to the other, and your dog or cat's going to pick up on that as well. So once again, it's not that it's new. There have been mobile veterinarians for years, but since the COVID virus, more and more people are finding it difficult. Veterinarians are overwhelmed. I mean, let's be realistic. I had to take my dog to the vet maybe 8 months ago, 9 months ago, maybe a little longer than that. And, you know, they have to come to the car, pick up your dog, bring the dog in. So now your dog is going to the vet where he's already stressed out. Now you're in the car. He's being picked up by someone he may or may not know, brought into the veterinary hospital, and taken care of there. If you have to do it, you have to do it. I understand that. But that's not the most comfortable thing. So for minor things, perhaps vaccinations, certain tests, maybe it's a good idea if you have a veterinarian that does come to the house. Not right for everybody, but if you're having trouble getting to see your veterinarian, or if you really, really feel stressed out when you go to the veterinarian, and here's kind of an interesting thing. A lot of people that have dogs and cats that could really benefit from veterinary care don't go to the veterinarian based on the fact of the stress and anxiety that they have to go through. So remember, there are alternatives. Vets are the greatest people in the world. I love vets. Most of the vets I know are pretty omnipotent. However, remember this. You do have a choice. You have veterinarians that work out of their offices, which is great, and veterinarians that will come to your home. But make sure, again, whatever veterinarian is coming to your home is affiliated or has at least the ability to go to an animal hospital if your dog needs surgery or your cat needs something more important. So again, in-home veterinary care is something to consider if you love your dog and cat. Talk to you on the Pet Show.